Welcome to the One Up Podcast. I am your host, El Caballo, a.k.a. Tony, a.k.a. the CEO, a.k.a. the Top Gun, the one who signs the checks, the one who writes the checks, the one who motherfucking cashes the checks. That's your boy, me, a.k.a. Celtics boy, a.k.a. we going to the finals. We won the finals. We're doing all of that. I'm calling it out early.
You lost last night.
What happened?
You lost last night.
We're going to talk about yesterday.
Also, I love the imagery of you writing the check, signing it, and then taking it to the check cashing spot for us, and you're just delivering us cash.
We got some of my nearest and dearest in the building. Got my dog Doe, a.k.a.
Yo.
Don't cut off when I do the AKs, though.
Yo, DJ Doey Fresh in here. You already know what time it is.
Man wants the intros
You
so
never
bad.
call me by my DJ name.
I was going to this time,
I didn't think
but
so.
you ruined it.
Okay.
AKA the rude boy. AKA he wants to do everything. AKA DJ Doughboy. AKA DJ Doey Fresh.
There you go.
All right?
Doey's like a little Renaissance man. He wants to do it all.
Yeah.
The Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
It's actually pretty fucking useful. Also in the building, got my dog Mateo, AKA Editor-in-Chief.
I think I'm backup editor in chief.
Don't worry, I got a spicy one. AKA YouTube, AKA Green Thumb, Red Thumb, Purple Thumb, all thumbs.
You can't call me beardy face or whatever anymore. I shaved it down, dude.
Yeah, I know.
You look good.
Thanks, bud.
Good look.
Also in the building, I got my dog Pucho, AKA Master Editor, AKA the Bald One, AKA not Top Gun.
Not Top Gun.
I'm
He is
Top
Top
Gun.
Gun.
I'm Top Gun.
So wait, who is he in Top Gun?
I'm Maverick, motherfucker.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I'm kicking ass. Tony could be Iceman. Technically, Iceman was the best pilot. So I'll give him that. He actually was the
just
one who
a
passed
star.
in the Top Gun program. So
You're just a
he
star.
could get a little dub, but I'm Tom Cruise and you're fucking who's the what the fuck was the guy? He's from The Saint. He was in Heat.
Val Kilmer.
Val fucking
Yeah.
Kilmer.
How did I forget that?
He's Batman.
Yeah.
I want to be Goose, but I don't want to be Goose from Top Gun. I want to be Goose from Mad Max.
That's actually a
Mad
good.
Max. Ew.
Yeah.
What you mean? Ew.
That was the superior Goose
A goose.
Mad
I don't
Max.
like
he
the
didn't
goose
fucking
talk.
crush his head and die.
until he crashed and died. Like that whole thing.
But
Also,
just got back from DR.
oh, wait, hold on. Relax.
I did. I just got back from DR. Yo, I want to say this. All right.
All right, go ahead.
My mom, she hit up this like mobile fucking foot lady. She came and hooked a brother with a pedicure at the crib. Yo, the shit was crazy. All right, you know I'm a man. All right, so brother got some calluses on his foot. This woman looked at my feet and was like, "Boy, no." I'm gonna have to whip out the knife. I'm like, what?
The knife.
Why she took out? She opened up, took out a razor blade, bro, and just started destroying my feet. Yo, she took every little bit of Parmesan right off this foot. My feet are smooth as a baby's bottom, yo. I've never gotten the razor blade treatment. It was different. It was different. So add razor blade pooch to the titles, right?
AKA Razor Blade Pooch. Damn, that's crazy. You got fresh
That's
ass
a
feet.
pretty good one.
I think
yeah.
I'm about to go and seek that now for myself now because I feel like I'm missing out.
Took
I don't
10
know
years
how you
off your
search for
feet,
this
dude.
service, but
Yeah.
Mobile service. Also, we got a special guest in the building. If you already haven't noticed, we got a friend of the show, of the pod. Retro Fox is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on, guys? What's going on? Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here.
AKA, oh yeah, he's got AKAs, ladies and gentlemen. Certified Cat Whisperer. AKA Gearhead himself.
Yo, facts.
AKA Fox Gabbana Productions. Hit it with the.
Yes, sir.
Damn. I gave you everything.
You
Also,
could have just AKA'd on all the various names he's had on Twitter.
That
would've taken up the entire thing.
yeah, I could have done that.
I'm a very indecisive individual, so
It's all right, man. You can change your mind anytime you want, man. You can change your mind
I like
anytime.
that. Yeah. That's good life advice.
I have the best advice for everybody. They just don't want to ask.
Know about all that. Questionable at best.
But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we got Retro Fox in the building. He is a music producer and seducer. Nah, I'm joking. But he is a music producer at Fox Cabanas Productions. Also, he likes to turn wrenches, works on cars. Man knows this thing around the engine.
Yes.
So, ladies, if you ever broken down on the side of the road, hit him up on Twitter. He'll gladly drive by and help you out.
I don't know if that's a service he's actually offering.
That's crazy.
Think I'll put his socials up, his email and all that. Just send him a link. So, Fox, man, give us a little bit of background history on you, man. How'd you get into the music business and all that?
Good question, man. Honestly, it all started off maybe back in like 97 or so like that. Some program called Hip Hop EJ started off with that. My mom got me my first computer, Fruity Loops. And then I used to be so dedicated to trying to make like good music on that my early PlayStation consoles and stuff like that, I used to just launch controllers. Like I was like Thor when it comes down to just throwing them. It was crazy. And my mom used to come in there all the time and she used to be like, boy, you better stop and all this good stuff. She's like, you're just going to get it. You just got to like chill out and practice, because she was tired of rebuying them. But second of all, it's like, I'm in there raging out and, black moms ain't having that. But I practice and practice and practice. And then stuff just started coming together like really well. And then like my school used to take my beats and we used to have like music that played before, to let you know that you were late for class. And we used to have that playing all the time and everybody loved it.
No way. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. But, me being an artist, like, I don't like blowing smoke up. Can we cuss one?
Yeah, you can curse all you want.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like blowing smoke up my ass, but at the same time, it's like, I'm always humble. And, everybody's seen something in it, but I didn't necessarily see because I'm just making them. But at the same time, as time went on, I started doing music for, like, actual artists, like them franchise boys. There's an old Gucci track from a long time ago that I got with what's his face, Drummer Boy, and some other stuff. And then I ended up meeting Doe, and I just continued to keep making music, and it's like it always shapes like a point in my life to the point of how it sounds. And when I was in college, that's when it really started taking off. I met Wiz Khalifa and some other people, and it really just came to fruition. And it's really like my happy place. Other than like games, cars, like I could sit here and make music and just be in heaven. And I've been doing it now for, I want to say 15 years. Yeah, 15 years.
That's awesome.
It's been quite some time.
I always feel like I can make beats. I always feel like I could have been a fly ass producer. But every time,
And you know what?
every time
Go
they
ahead.
let me, they take the shit away from me. I don't know why. Like I did DJing at Doty's house one time, drunk. I made the best mix. This man hated it. He didn't like it. I don't know.
The best mix.
I let him create some mixes at my house, some abominations on my turntables.
But I will say this. Oh, go ahead.
How else do you get good? You gotta be bad at something to get good at something. So
It's a fact.
I don't. Yeah.
So how'd you get to
You got to know your lane though. I don't play myself. I never play myself and try to make music on your turntables. Like I knew my position. I was like, that ain't for me.
I don't know how you even start doing anything with those turntables Doe has.
It's
I was
simple. You just-
terrified.
that's it, and then it goes from there.
That is the key. When you face this, like, this setup back here is very minimal now. It used to be a lot more because, now everything can be done through a computer, which is great. But you literally sit in front of that and you have to embrace the humility. That's how you get better, because you're going to hear some stuff and you're like, damn, this sounds like absolute shit. And then you're just going to keep deleting it. And then finally something's going to start coming together and be like, oh, this is going crazy. And, it works from there.
So how'd you go from producing music to being like a gearhead now? Like, how did you get to that transition?
Well, I always love cars. So, Gran Turismo's big part of me. Since the PS1, me and my dad used to play that all the time. And, I think just the lust of like seeing people with this type of stuff. And you know me, I grew up on both sides of the spectrum, so we had it really well off when I was a kid. But then, like halfway through your childhood, things got real shitty. So really got to understand what being poor looks like as well too. But also having a determination that, you know, as you continue to grow older, like this stuff is just not non-attainable. You can have this stuff too, as long as you put in some work. And I ended up getting my first actual car, which was like a Mustang GT. Loved that thing to death. And it's just been up ever since there. Like I did so much work to that and it was in great condition. And I ended up meeting a lot of other people and seeing their cars and stuff and learning how to, you know, turn a wrench, things that I didn't know back in my stomping grounds when I was growing up. And it's just, it's a great pastime, or I should say a hobby that I'm glad I kind of came to be. But cars are everything. It's kind of sucks that they're going towards this electric stuff, but they got their perks, so I can't really be mad at them.
I love I'm on the electric wave.
Dude, those electric cars are fast as hell.
Exactly, yeah. So that's a good thing.
How'd you score a GT as your first car? Because I drove a fucking Volkswagen Cabriolet. My mother nicknamed that shit the Roach. All right, it was a bad car. It was 2000 something. I was driving a 1994.
It actually wasn't my first car. My first car was a 2002 Saturn SL1. It was like a Civic,
That's
American
what I'm talking
Civic.
about.
Yeah, and it was cool. And I wrote,
You pull names out like Saturn, Mercury, and you're like,
Yeah.
what are these cars? Like they started naming cars after planets.
Yeah, man, that was my first joint. I rode that to the transmission busted, and then when I started working, and I actually was able to get my first like car. The Mustang was the first thing, and it was awesome. It was a GT V8. It was very fast, and it looked good. 2012, I want to say.
The Stang.
Nice. That's crazy, man. That's awesome. That's a like love for music and cars.
Yeah,
That's,
man.
You found a passion and you're sticking with it. A lot of people
gotta
lose
stay
sight
busy
of
and
that.
stay true.
All the things that make noise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Right.
He's also one of the busiest gamers I know as well.
That's a gift and a curse, though, because my attention span is short on stuff. Like, I'll play something and put it to the side and then be like, oh, I never finished it. And while you guys got all these fucking platinums and shit, and I'm jealous, what the hell?
That's pooch. To be clear, that's pooch.
That's pooch. I'm not that type of person. I play games to have fun. I don't play games to stress out for platinum trophy. That shit is
I need to take your approach.
Yeah, I platinum the games that are like very near and dear to me. Pucho has helped me out in some of those platinums, though.
Let me tell you this.
My platinums are all very important to me. They're very personal. So the next game I'm going to platinum is going to be Tunic when that drops in the PS5.
Very nice.
Good choice.
That one needs to happen.
Good choice.
Put it like this, Fox.
Cheers to that, guys.
I only platinum, I think, 2 or 3 games. One of them is Rocket League with Pucho. The second one is Division with Pucho and Doughboy. And I think the third one was shit, I don't even think I have a third one.
That Division was fun, by the way. That
Yeah,
was a good platinum.
It was fun while it lasted.
That was when we used to play games with Tony.
And
Yeah,
me?
I don't got time for that.
Oh, I never played Division with y'all though.
No, we did Overwatch together. That was fun.
I haven't played Overwatch, and I feel like I'm missing out.
I mean,
The ship is kind of sailed.
Okay.
We used to play for nice for about 20 minutes. And then the next like hour or 2 hours of us playing together was just everyone arguing and yelling at each other.
Tony, what the fuck are you doing over there?
Stay on the fucking point. Hold the shield up. Why are you running away? Why are you by yourself? No, it's wild.
It gets very hostile.
Yeah, I just had fucking whiskey come up out my nose, bro. My whole shit is on fire right
Oh, I
Oh
bet.
my god.
For a little peek behind the curtain for our viewers here, it's 10:30 my time. It's 11:30 for these boys.
Yes.
But, ladies and gentlemen, on this episode, for this beautiful 5-man group, we're doing the most impactful albums that we've listened to in our life. Each one of us picked an album. We're going to go ahead and start off with our boy Fox, a.k.a. Retro Fox.
You may be jumping the gun.
How? How would I be jumping the gun?
We're doing 5 sections. This section's only 10 minutes long, maybe 12.
now. This is
The section.
What's wrong with this guy?
We're doing 5 albums, 5 sections. It's not an intro and 5
Yeah,
sections.
yeah.
Oh.
Pay attention. This
For
is why
another
I'm.
peek behind the curtain,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. Confusion. So it's a staple. Okay, it's a staple in this podcast. All right, the people be confused.
All the time.
Namely, the two guys that are typically at the top.
Never me. I know what's going on.
You be struggling.
This is. Anyways, we're gonna start off with retro. Since you are our guest, you get to go first.
All right.
And the album you picked was Nas' Illmatic.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead and let us know why and fill us in a little bit.
So, Illmatic, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard this. If you like hip hop, in my opinion, I think it's the best rap album made of all time. But Illmatic, this came out in '94, mind you. So, you know, I'm young. We like Tupac. My mom likes Tupac, and you know, we got a little bit of who else? Digital Underground and stuff going on. But like this in particular, when it came out, my mom had it, and we was listening to it, and you know, we used to drive all over the place, and like when this came on, like you got that New York train or subway train at the beginning of this album, and it just really sets the tone. It sounds like today like an old VHS tape, but it really just sets you in the mood. Like, all right, we're about to go down memory lane or a journey with this that you can't go back to once you put it on wax. And I feel like that's why we never truly got a true follow-up to Illmatic. I mean, It Was Written was next, but it's not Illmatic in a sense. But at the same time, like, as you continue to go through this album, not only is the flow perfect, but at the same time, some of the overall, like, lyrics, like, for instance, we'll go to one that everybody likes, New York State of Mind. That's probably the grittiest track on the album. But at the same time, that dark piano in the background with Nas just consistently dropping metaphorical, deep, complex bars that pretty much people seem to vibe with. And he's, I think, 19 at the time. It's just perfect. And, you know, I never sleep because sleep is the cousin of death. I remember hearing that when I was younger, and I used to think to myself, like, you know, why do we sleep? And it's like, you know, when you sleep, as I got older, I feel like you miss out on a lot of things and how to progress on certain stuff too. Now, I'm not no walking zombie at the end of the day too, but a word like that really, I should say a phrase like that really sticks out to somebody who's trying to hustle to really get into from point A to point B. And, you know, going past that, and once we get to things like The World Is Yours, for instance, I'm pretty sure you guys have all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So The World Is Yours, probably the most classic track. You hear it on a lot of video games. Dave Mirra Bike BMX.
Yo.
Rest in peace to him.
Yo.
Yeah. Classic game. Used to play the shit out of that when I was around. But, you know, you hear it all over the place because it's true. And the message with that, like, the world is yours. Anybody can do anything that they want. But for someone to like capture that moment and really just place it on wax that you can repeat over and over and over for your own motivational views, it's great. Halftime, just to kind of give you a little bit of break, just to understand, look, you know, don't get it twisted. You can still have fun and still do what you want to do. But I'm kind of getting off track because there's so much that I want to condense within a 10-minute period on here.
No, don't worry about it. Take your time. Talk about what you want to talk about. Like I said, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So we're going to jump past a couple of tracks on here. So as we continue to talk to this album, One Time for Your Mind, and also It Ain't Hard to Tell. It Ain't Hard to Tell is probably my favorite track on this album. And that's just because this is going to jump back to my original most impactful album, which was Michael Jackson Thriller. Rest in peace one more time to the greatest musician to ever exist. But that song has a sample of Michael Jackson in it. And I was a huge Michael Jackson fan at the end of the day. So I loved how the way that beat was composed. And that beat actually motivated me to start making music because I needed to know how that worked out, but I never knew until later. But at the same time, the overall message of that, the same energy that you get from the actual sample, well, I should say the Michael Jackson sample, is somehow translated into this song, but also Nas's message of, you know, it ain't hard to tell, still translates along with it. It's like they coincide with each other, and it's like perfect artistry to exist in '94, in my opinion, because
it's crazy how young he was, how talented, the writing, the production on this album, how it all came together. It's almost fucking insane how good this album is front to back.
Yeah, dude, it's dope. And
what I found interesting for another peek behind the curtain, Fox's, because we all chose albums for this topic, right? So we're all gonna go through our own impactful albums. We listened to all the albums, so we're all gonna chime in and stuff. What I thought was interesting was Fox's original choice was Michael Jackson's Thriller, and then he switched it to Illmatic, and then when I was re-listening to Illmatic, I was like, oh shit! Look, this track got the sample for it samples Human Nature from Michael from the Thriller album.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, there's the connection between maybe these two albums for Fox. I thought that was interesting. That I was like, oh look, this was his original choice. He switched it, but there's still some connection between the two. So I thought that was cool.
I enjoyed the hell out of Fox's pick because I'd heard like 2 tracks off that Nas album, right? And I had heard with his original pick, the Thriller album, I'd heard like the hits off there, right? But I'd never listened to that album like front to back or anything. I'm not the biggest Michael Jackson fan. I think he's probably one of the greatest musicians that's ever existed, but he's also not really. I think you can understand how important something is without necessarily being like a huge fan of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But man, I was listening to the Nas album. And I kept getting like these Tribe Called Quest vibes. And then I saw a Q-Tip pop up on that song. And I was like, oh, shit. Okay. this all makes sense. That it's damn good. It is so good. There's like this, he fills space with words so well. Like his flow is just nonstop in some of those songs. It's just, the song starts, the song ends, and he is just rapping the entire fucking time. Like it's so good.
Exactly. And you really just nailed that. So a visual, I should say, using your imagination with the words, like that's something that a lot of artists, I feel, even today don't have. And I think that's what makes this so well. Because even as a kid, you know, when you're a kid, your imagination's running wild with everything. But I felt like I was literally right there with him as I was listening to this album. And you just don't get that anymore. And that's what makes it so impactful to me, you know?
No, yeah. Nas is just a fantastic artist. Like, I always thought he was gonna stop making music and then he drops an album. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, he's definitely one of those OGs, just like Jay-Z is. You know, them two coming up, having little beef, musical beef and shit, and street beef, I guess. It was like, Nas always was like the you know how Batman and Robin, or like a Batman, that's like over like a villain and a superhero, like them two together always collided. But
I don't think Robin was the bad guy.
No. Like I'm trying to say, like there's always like a Joker. Yeah, sorry, Joker. I don't even know why I said Robin.
Gracie's over here, fucking butting heads with Bruce Wayne. I don't think I've ever seen that one.
But like I listened to it again, like after you announced it, because I listened to the whole entire Michael Jackson album, and then they told me, hey, he flipped it. He chose Nas Illmatic. I'm like, all right, cool. I like Nas anyway, so I'll listen to it. Listening to that album brought back all those feels, and I'm kind of upset right now because it's like I cannot listen to this Nas Illmatic and then not listen to the next album. So now it's like something I have to go and listen to the next album and then go on from the next album. Cause I don't know what it is. Like certain artists, I would just be like, I need more of it now. So now it's like I gotta play. I'm gonna have a Nas track list probably this weekend.
So you're gonna be listening to Magic by next week then.
And what's cool about this too, I know we got to switch segments here, but like with Illmatic, like there's not really a follow up. But me and Doe was talking about this earlier. It was written in certain aspects could be even better than this album, but it just has no ties in between. And that's what's cool about it, you know?
Yeah, I love when a rapper follows up his classic first album with a classic second album, sophomore album. And I feel like Nas did that with It Was Written. It was like, okay, you saw my first shit, now watch me double that shit. I'm gonna rap about a bullet going backwards. I was like, nah, this is crazy.
Yeah, that shit.
Yeah, man.
It's like, I'm good. Nah, fucking I think It Was Written is better than Illmatic personally. I love both of those albums. Illmatic is my first hip hop album, so it always had a special place for me. New York State of Mind is probably my favorite hip hop song of all time. I love Memory Lane. Those are my two favorite tracks off the album. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I grew up in Queens, so like we, growing up, and my family's from Brooklyn. I'm the kid from Queens in the family. My family moved to Queens. So I grew up, I love Nas. My brother was a Jigga fan. So I grew up with that in the house, like listening to Jigga, listening to Nas, having arguments with my brothers and my cousins and all that type of shit all the time. So, I mean, it was one thing I was bummed out about was that 3 of the albums amongst our choices are albums that I already love. So it was like I didn't really have a lot of opportunity to like kind of step out of the box and like listen to something new. But then again, I was happy as fuck to be re-listening to one of my favorite hip hop albums. So
Well, now I understand why you like Spider-Man so much.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
It's exactly why. Like I said, my cousins lived in Forest Hills for a little while, and I remember going over there and being a little kid, and I'd be like, "Yo, Spider-Man's gonna swing right through this bitch in a second now." I'm gonna see this motherfucker jump out a window, and he's like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's part.
I was a
That's
dumb kid, man.
Nah, that's lit, bro. You had like you was just you was fucking innocent. You know what I mean? Like you just saw a superhero you love and you wish it can form in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Can't.
Now this album definitely has that like a wall of sound for a lot of the songs. All these songs feel just so like full and in your face, and I loved it. Like absolutely. Like I said, I'd only listen to like 1 or 2 tracks.
You were
previously
talking,
off this.
the production is by who, Pucho? Like you're saying Guru and Premier help make these tracks, or
Not Premiere.
No, I forget the one dude. I got to look this up real quick because the dude that made It Ain't Hard to Tell, he still makes music to this day. 1 second here.
but I was
Yeah, I want to say not to give like a spoiler too much or anything.
Wasn't it
This is the
Nasir
kind of-
Jones?
This is the kind of pick that I was expecting from Doey. Doey surprised the hell out of me with his pick on this
Bro,
thing.
that's what I'm
But
saying.
like a classic hip hop album like this is what I was expecting from Doey. So it's cool that we had you on here so we could get the little bit of that classic hip hop, since Doey went with an entirely different direction than what I was expecting.
Okay, Large Professor. That's who it was. Large Professor. A lot of his stuff is dope too. Just regular like discography. Q-Tips on here. We got Pete Rock, which is a legendary producer.
okay, legend.
Yeah, legendary.
Wow.
And,
Holy shit.
I think we said DJ Premier already, but yeah, Nick
No,
Fury.
I didn't know he was
Rockwater.
on there, so it's good to hear that. Yeah.
But yeah, overall with this album, like I'm from the Midwest, and I know most of you guys are from New York in general. But I literally feel like I could be a New York individual and blend right in. Like I know I don't go up there often, but I feel like if I was to move there, I'd just be able to blend right in.
Because you have like this piece of Brooklyn. It's crazy on this album. It's so authentic. I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
And I think it's that way for a lot of people as well.
Nah, Nas
Go
is,
ahead.
I was gonna say Nas is like there's certain artists that make timeless masterpieces that you can just go back and play it front to back and not really skip.
Yeah.
Illmatic and It Was Written are maybe those 2 albums. I don't know, Pucho, you can chime in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you could skip any. I think you could just let it run the whole fucking way and not even skip a song.
Yeah.
To be honest,
What the?
It Was Written
Illmatic?
and Illmatic, you could just play it and not have to skip.
No, there's only 9 songs.
Well,
Even
no,
the first song, I love the opening to Illmatic because the first song has like a snippet of Nas's first ever recording. Like he did like a freestyle at it's called Live at the Barbecue, and it's like somebody was just recording them, and they put a snippet of that on the intro song, like kind of just like the intro skit to the album or whatever. And I thought that was cool. Like it's something I never noticed before, to be honest. I've listened to this album like 100 times, And it just now listening to it again, I was like, oh shit, this is from Live at the BBQ, and I went back and play that shit. It's like a 17-year-old Nas just fucking ripping the mic. It's
Really?
That's
yeah,
nuts.
Yeah, it's dope.
You got to think, bro. 17 years old, bro. 18, 19, dropping an album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's something that comes out of people when they're in that age in high school, whether it be men or women. Because even me, I was making music. I was expressing myself at that age, 16, 17, 15. That's when I started writing. That's when I started performing music, going to the studio, recording, getting together with friends and just writing over instrumentals. So I feel like it's a very, no matter what anybody is doing, they kind of excel at that thing at those ages, whether it be basketball, football, like all that stuff.
I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think that like even that line that that Fox mentioned, that sleep is a cousin of death, right? That is a very young man's mindset. This is a young man's hip hop album. It is
Absolutely.
It's fresh and raw and loud, and it's nonstop. It's energetic. It's got this energy that you don't. I don't know that we saw that in like Magic, right? Like Magic's a good album too, but I don't know that it's there's a different level of energy between like a young 19-year-old Nas and like modern day Nas, right?
Yeah, modern day Nas is too cool. Like he's laid back, he's chilled, like all that shit. But
Yeah,
nah,
it's
it's
literally
interesting
better
you say
than
that, because sleep is a cousin of death is probably my favorite phrase in all of hip hop, right? And as a kid, I used to interpret it as literally sleeping is you not doing shit you could be doing, so you're kind of dying in a sense, right? But now, like as I got older, that line means something different. It's something like an old wise man would say, which is like if you sleeping on the thing, sleeping in the metaphorical sense of like not doing, like if you're not doing the things you love or experiencing the things you're doing, then you might as well be dead. You ain't living. Like
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm still shocked that a 17 or a 19-year-old kid wrote that shit. I'm like my grown ass man. Like, you know, I'm reading, I'm listening to this shit, and I'm just like I'm getting like these lines like touch me, and I'm like, this is a little fucking kid writing this shit. Like it's mind blowing to me.
The biggest
Have you
plot.
Have you ever listened to Take K?
No.
You said take K, the race?
Yeah. That little nigga was rapping his ass off. I was like, yo, this kid is 15 on the run from the law, saying some of the most wild shit I've ever heard. So I
Man.
understand that feeling. Like, yo, this kid is so young, rapping about shit that's way beyond his age.
You know what this album kind of reminds me of? Well, okay, so when you get artists like this, of course, you only get probably a handful within a generation. But like, you got Nas back when we were growing up. I would say, as of current, I would say Kendrick and the J. Cole would be like the J Nas of like it's past generation now. But
Take a shot to this comment right here. Take a shot.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But Kendrick's
kinda
early
agree.
work. Yeah, Kendrick's early work reminds me of Nas so much because it was so fucking deep at the time, and it went over everybody's heads because he didn't have the popularity at the time. But then once he broke out and everybody started listening to shit like Section 80, everybody's like, damn, this nigga's spitting, you know?
Yes.
And just same with J. Cole. It took him Forest Hill Drive for everybody to really like hop on and be like, yo, J. Cole's like ill, you know? It's amazing. It really is.
I just died.
Yeah, I fucking finished the one bottle of whiskey because I had like 2-3 fingers left, and then I whipped out the other one, and I don't know, the shit like aged in the bottle. This shit hit very different. I was like, ugh, I don't like it.
You know what it is? You didn't play your bottle opening song.
Damn.
Oh, there's a bottle opening song.
Nah, the bottle's already open. I just
man, I
killed
need
the
to hear
old
that.
bottle. It's been sitting there for weeks, like just that full in the big, you know.
But nah, man, yeah, Nas Illmatic definitely a top album for sure.
It's a good pick.
It's
It's
a real
good
good pick.
I give the album a thumbs up.
2 thumbs.
Nah, I'm binary, baby.
Oh,
We
I'm
up or
sorry.
down?
Apologize. Nah, I definitely give that album top 10 thumbs.
Thank you.
Very good pick. For our, well, Real quick,
Joey wandered
yeah.
off. Don't do the shout outs.
real quick, if you haven't done so already, ladies and gentlemen, hit that subscribe button, that like button, share us with your fans, your family, your auntie, your grandmother. Just do it. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. We love y'all. Also, follow my man Retro Fox. He's on Twitter right now. Retro Fox Live. And for crying out loud, comment. Leave us a comment. We're talking albums here. I know we got a Nas fan out there for sure who always comments when we talk about Nas, so drop it on there. Let us know. We spazzing out or whatever. Let us know.
Some would say we don't even know about Nas's new classics.
We don't even know.
We don't
We don't
even
know
know.
about classic hip hop.
Yeah, some would say. But for our second album, came from our boy Doughboy, in case you ain't know boy.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay.
And the album, I'm going to say it for you guys, hopefully I don't destroy it, is The Deer Hunter, Act 2, The Meaning of All Things Regarding Misleading. Go ahead, Doe. Hit us with some why'd you pick and what really impacted you with this album?
I'm trying to look when this album came up. What is
I want to
the
say it was
name
like
again?
early 2000s, right?
Leading.
Are you asking us the name of your album?
Not the name of the album. But I know it was
when it
around
dropped.
2006, 7.
I think it was 2007.
So it was 2007. My brother had the bright idea of just quitting school and getting this stupid Oxford mail-in test that he had all the answers for. So my brother gets this mail-in GED test that he says has all the answers for. He aces all the tests on the GED, gets his GED, and says, fuck West Palm Beach. I'm going to New York. So he goes to New York for like 2 years, like almost 2 years. And within that time, I'm getting to know Bucho. I'm getting to know Tony. I'm getting to know all these people and like making friendships and stuff like that. All of a sudden, my brother's like, I'm coming back to West Palm Beach. And I'm letting everybody know, oh, my brother's going to move back. My brother's going to move back. And my brother returned a very different man. My brother, when he came back, he wasn't rocking the same clothes he was rocking when he lived in Florida. That baggy lifestyle, that lean with it, rock with it, that Harlem Diplomats 5X baggy tees that we would buy were no longer a thing. My brother was wearing some of the tightest, and when I mean tight, I don't mean like cool. I mean like literally the tightest shit I've ever seen in my life. I was like, bro, are you goth? And he's like, no, I'm not goth. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, this is just New York fashion. And he's like,
he came back with clothes. He was rocking all the tight stuff before it became cool to wear the tight stuff. Everybody was wondering, like, is Mike gay? Like, why is he wearing all this tight clothes? And it's like, nah, man. Like,
The man had his girl's pants on.
He came back with the gauges, the piercings, the fucking tight, the super, we're talking skin tight, skinny jeans. Like,
yeah. So,
Weird.
he comes back. All my friends, what is Tony weird? You fucking love this nigga. You gravitated towards Mike like
Mike was
a
my
bitch.
nigga. Mike
Right?
like, wow, now
Yeah.
I'm a bitch. Word.
I'm
Disrespecting
sorry.
me.
Anyways, my brother was a freakishly good-looking guy. He had no problem getting any girl that he wanted. And especially now that he's different looking than everyone else in the area, especially then, he caught so much attention. But with that, he met a group of people in New York that put him on to like death metal, rock, punk rock, all these different bands. So me and my brother used to share music with each other. It was something very intimate that I did with my brother. It was movies, video games, music. Those were the things like we really jammed with each other on.
Vanilla Sky.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What a
Michael
weird movie.
He loved Vanilla Sky,
Oh,
bro.
he loved that movie. Oh my God. It was sickening. He came back with DVDs you have to watch this movie, bro. We gotta watch this movie, bro. And he brought this album out. He's like, yo, Doey. He's like, well, I wasn't even Doey. Yo, David. He said, yo, you need to check this out. And I'm like, what is this? He's like, it's called The Deer Hunter. I'm like, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, it's like alternative rock kind of, but it's like, it has like, I didn't know then, but it's like a rock opera is what it is. And this opened my mind to all sorts of music. This was like the point in my life where this album got injected into like my current albums of listening, and it really opened up my mind. And I was very closed-minded when I would listen to like MTV and like the Green Day songs would come on. I was like, this is bullshit.
No, and that's real. That's real because I used to feel the same way. But go ahead.
No. It's okay if you want to talk. It's just the way I felt. I was just like, I'm not too into this. But getting my brothers, like, okay, my brother is the seal of approval. He's never really led me astray. So this album came along and it really impacted me in that way where after this I was listening to death metal, rock opera, punk, all sorts of music in that genre just like became available because I had already gotten into this downloading music. And it just was a really positive thing in my life. I'm not really gonna go through the album. There's songs on the album that are really close to me. Like the Death and what is this called? The Death. Let's bring this album up. I'm sorry. I should have
the Death.
You
and
talking
the Birth?
about Death and the Birth?
Yeah, The Death and the Birth, The Red Hands, Black Sandy Beaches, Dear Misleading. Like, these are all tracks that I connected with one way or another. Like, there's a lot of themes in this album that are basically it's telling a story from front to back. There's an act before it. But in my opinion, this is like my favorite act of all the acts that they put out. And there's a lot of good themes in there. The Red Hands is about him finding out that the person he fell in love with, I guess, is cheating on him. And
I just want to
go for it, Tone.
I just want to say, out of that whole album, Red Hands was my favorite track. I was telling Pucho that yesterday, and it's because I can correlate in ways, right? Like I bring myself. That's how I like music, like, and that's how I start listening to other stuff that's out of my realm, right? Like I'll find one track, I'll like it. All right, let me dabble in this. Let me dabble in that, and that's how I go through things. Same thing with Linkin Park and My Chemical Romance, all these other weird things that I was never used to. I was like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? Take the shit the fuck out of here with this bullshit. But one song caught me. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. They gave me a sample, and I'm that dickhead in Costco going around all the sample tables and getting more and more samples. So, and that's how I got into the music, like with certain genres and stuff. But, yeah, go ahead, though. I ain't going to take no more of your time.
No. I literally, we can just discuss the album. I'm gonna pull up some songs.
I want to say that Doe picked an interesting album because this album was also special for me. It wouldn't be like my most impactful album, but it was one of the albums that I listened to in the era that I also like expanded my musical interest. Like I grew up just I listened to Dominican music, so like bachata, merengue, and then hip hop. Like those are the things I listen to, right? I grew up in the hood with immigrant family, so it's like those are the musical genres that I was exposed to. And so like though I'd put on MTV and be like Green Day, fuck that, Oasis, fuck that, the Beatles, who the fuck cares? Like I just had zero interest. I was like,
bro,
all
the
this rock
Basement.
shit.
on BET, I was
Yo.
tuned in though every day,
Yo.
like crack. 106 in Park for some reason, tuned in.
Rap City and all that.
Those are classics.
Miss Sela's World.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
ahead.
so this album was one of the albums that I listened to around that time. Like when Michael came back from New York, I was listening to Circa Survive, Saves the Day, The Deer Hunter, like just even dabbling with like death metal, listening to the Faceless and shit like that. And it was it was just in that era of like me becoming more interested in music. Doey copped Rock Band, and it was like we were just playing a video game, but inevitably we started to enjoy a lot of these rock songs, and it was a very fun time for me. So.
That's
No,
interesting.
This
Yeah.
pick to me, this was a pure Pucho pick, is what this came off as. It was this rock opera, and it had like these like big like operatic sounds. The dude he's got a range. His pipes are nuts. He gives me a lot of like Muse vibes, and a lot of old Muse vibes or a lot of old Muse albums are very like that same kind of way. They're operatic. He shows off like his voice, and this was interesting. I didn't know what to expect when I hit play on this album, but it was definitely not this when it was a Doey pick that I was listening to.
No, yeah, I felt
and
the
I'm-
same.
And I'm gonna jump in on here too and say this because Doe, I didn't expect to have this coming from you, but I don't mean that in any disrespect whatsoever. But
No,
this
that's
is
cool.
also something that I've never heard myself, and this goes for all four of your albums here. So like this one in particular, I agree with Mateo. Like when I turned this on, because I was listening to this on the car ride, that soundstage, that opera soundstage was killer. That's what took me at first. And then like his vocal and his range and like the falsettos and things like that he's doing along with this, it was just something that I've never heard, but it was so well arranged for an alternative rock album because this came out in what, 2007?
yeah.
Yeah, so this is about the time I'm getting out of high school, and I am listening to some different stuff, but at the same time, I've never heard nothing like this. And like, as you continue to listen to some of the albums, Evicted's probably my favorite track on this overall album.
I have been evicted.
Dude, that is my jam, and it's the build up and that piano riff that he has at the beginning of it is just awesome. But like, I think what stood out to me the most on this is that the album is so emotional that you can go on a roller coaster with this individual. And this is only Act 2, and I see there's like what, 5 of them?
Yes, there's a lot.
Yeah. But overall, like the music motifs, like I don't know how many individuals or if this is like a full band or not, but like overall the musical arrangement, the motifs, and just how the emotion that they're able to get from these specific instruments to really just put their imagery on the forefront is amazing. And I can definitely see why this is impactful for you because it sounds like your brother was definitely ahead of the wave at the time.
Yes.
And even though I personally never got to meet him, you know, I think that this was a very good pick, and you should be very happy that you got to experience something like this. This is really dope because otherwise I would have never heard this.
Yeah, same with me. Like, I was asking myself, when I texted you guys in the messenger yesterday, I was like, yo, I want to know how these albums you guys pick impact yourself. And honestly, I didn't know that Michael put you onto this. That's why it clicks to me. Like, this is super sentimental. This is something that you remember and everything. Your brother just came back. So, like, I can see why. Because it threw me for a loop. I'm like, Deer Hunter cock. What is this shit? Like, I don't know what this shit is.
That was also the missing piece for me. Like I was like, okay, this is a cool album. This is the Wild album. I'm missing that piece. Like why this is Doey's pick. Yeah. And yeah, your story about your brother makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Because it's also funny because the reason why I started listening to the like rock and all this shit is because of my mother. She listened to Creed.
Nice. Okay.
So she listened to Creed. I'm like, what is this? And there was always a song that she'll cry to that he'll play. And I just, for some reason, I can never forget Creed, like my whole life. So from Creed, it went into Godsmack. From Godsmack, Linkin Park, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chemical Romance. Mike got me into Disturbed and like the screamos and shit. Like, bro, I was never into none of these screamo shit and let the bodies hit the floor and all this music. Like Mike also kind of infested me with, like, it was just weird. Like I never would put any of this shit on, but you know, come to find out, I like Linkin Park. Linkin Park's one of my favorite bands. Like, so it's just like all this music that before I would just throw that shit to the side is like, damn, nah, you kind of open it, and then now him listening to Deer Hunter and I like Red Hands. I'll go back and listen to it again and try to find more relatable stuff that I would like, and it'll open it up. So, yeah, big shout out to this album.
I'll also say this. The first time I listened to the album, I absolutely hated it. And, like, absolutely. I was like, especially on the first album, it's just way too many pause. It's like, ba, ba, ba. He's just hitting pause everywhere. And I'm like, there's too many phrases. I'm like, damn. I pull up to Doey's crib and I'm like, damn, you listen to this pop shit again? Like, and some of this music is, not to say that, like, not to disrespect any type of other music, but some music is challenging. Like they're like, you know, you put on a poppy song and it's designed, it's architected so that you can like it instantly. Like the beat is snappy, the lines are probably simple, the lyric is the chorus is catchy, and it's just designed for you to enjoy it immediately. These other genres of music that they're trying to step out of you know, whatever lane pop music's supposed to be, right? You know, sometimes you don't like it right away. Sometimes it don't click right away. Even my all-time favorite band, Coheed, I did not like them when I first listened to them for similar reasons. It's just, it was too different for me at the time. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If you enjoyed any of it, I implore you to kind of go back and re-listen to things every now and again, and I'm sure it'll click a little different. But
this gave me big Proto Men vibes. Which the Proto Men I had never listened to until talking to Booch. I just stumbled upon them on Spotify one day. They were one of the next recommended songs on one of my playlists. I was like, you know what, fuck it. Booch is always talking about how much he loves the Proto Men. Let me check this shit out. And I got a lot of Proto Men vibes from this in a good way, the best way. Like they're rock operas. They're experiences that you're supposed to think about them and picture them in your head. I'm curious if when they perform, if there's like a visual aspect to it too, besides them just like playing instruments or not.
That's what I look forward to. Like if the band live is just as awesome as the album is, that's a huge plus for me.
Yeah. I mean, they're definitely as good live, but they don't have. The Proto Men is different. They're really trying to put on like half a play. Like they're acting things out. They got costumes on.
That's
they're painting their faces.
That's cool.
And it's crazy. Like they're really trying to sell the idea. Like, yo, these are concept albums, and we're fully embracing this shit. Like this album is all of these Deer Hunter albums are concept albums too. There's a whole story behind it about a character named The Boy or whatever. Yeah. And to Tony's comment about Red Hands, that song's about him finding out that the woman he's in love with is a prostitute and like she's fucking other dudes and shit. And so, you know, listening to the song in that light, the ending where he's screaming so much, it's like he's like conflicted on still wanting to be with this woman and be in love with her, but he's so hurt. And he said a bunch of hurtful things to her that he kind of wants to take that back, but he kind of wants to get revenge on her. And he kind of ruined the relationship in a sense. Mind you, she's a prostitute. I'm not sure if it's clear if that was discussed. You know what I'm saying? But like,
that is a bombshell to drop on someone.
Yeah. Well, no, he bagged her, right? Like he walks in and catches her fucking a dude. Like, so.
Dude, Pucho is like the Morgan Freeman of music right now because I didn't even pick that up. I'm sitting here amazed and awe, like, damn, how could I miss that?
Nah, when I like things hard. So like I get obsessed. I start reading everything about it. And my favorite bands and musicians is I love concept-based things. Like now it's tough for me when I just listen to regular songs. It's like, oh, this is just a song. There's not much deeper to it. And it's something I gotta like stop myself from like disliking, because everything don't gotta be a concept. It'll actually be kind of exhausting. Like if everything needed to be a concept that you need to understand. But for me, I love it because it's like there's always this extra element to every single song. Every single line could be dissected now, and it's like it's fun for me. Is what I like about
this. Is why Puchel is disappointed in the MCU because he wants more. He wants more than just the. It's like a concept, but it's not. It's kind of right. Like it's definitely made for like mass consumption.
The MCU's pop music, man. I don't like it. I don't want it to be deep, but it ain't.
But no, yeah, that I would give that album 7.58 out of 10.
Damn, that's impressive. Tony hit me up. He's like, "Yo, I listened to this Deer Hunter dick, and I only liked Red Hands." I was like, "Oh damn!" I'm like, "I love this album." So I'm like, he must hate this shit. Now it gets a 7.5. That's crazy.
Yeah, I went back to listen. I told you, if I like one song out of the album, I'll go back and dig and dabble, as they say, into the things. And there's a couple other good ones I like. But no, yeah.
I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5, and I'm really giving it a 4 out of 5 because of its artistic imagery that it has. Like, that really makes up for the whole album, but I feel like I need to listen to Act 1 to kind of understand where Act 2 is going. Maybe. I don't know. But at the same time, one playthrough is not enough, and I feel like I only got through a 1.5, so, but still, 4 out of 5. I think it translates very well, so yeah.
Yeah, I need to sit back down with this one with like a lyric sheet open and like just actively listening to it and looking at the lyrics, and I feel like I didn't dive into this one deep enough. But what I listened to, because I listened to it twice, I liked.
Yeah.
And that's why I threw those Reddit threads up there for the Coheed album and the Deer Hunter album, is because like on its own, these albums are totally fine. You can like them, they're good, the music's good. But then when you dive into the story behind all the lyrics and stuff, it just adds, for me, it adds so much more. Like it makes it so much more enjoyable to be like, like I'm understanding a whole story and enjoying music and enjoying the metaphors and the lyrics, and like I'm just getting an extra element out of the music that you don't typically get. So
yeah,
but not that I expected anybody to read all that shit. It's too much. But again, I threw it there in case anybody wanted it, you know?
Yeah. But Doe, we definitely added this to the Apple Music library, so thank you very much.
Of course, man. I really, I'm glad that you guys were able to listen to this because it's a near and dear one for me.
And I didn't skip any track on anybody's album. I just want y'all.
No, I appreciate that
you
too.
can't. You have to.
No, because Doe automatically assume I'm skipping tracks out here. I'm like, nah. I'm gonna listen to every single track. But no,
I bagged Doe trying to skip a track last night.
Last night, he's like, "Didn't you just accuse Tony for that?" And I'm like, and I had to restart it, but then I pushed it 20 seconds forward, and he's like, "You can't skip the intro to the
Yeah, because New York State of Mind has such an iconic fucking intro.
That's what he was skipping?
Nah, he's already listened to the album, so he's like, let me skip to the songs I'm more unfamiliar with. And I'm like, nah. We ain't skipping shit out here. We were listening to the whole fucking thing. He put New York State of Mind and he skipped 20 seconds in. I'm like, what? You missed the intro. It's so crack. Like I love that, like the story, like the some of the lore behind that one particular song. Not to go back to the previous topic, but the beat is not a typical hip hop beat. There's not a strong drum or nothing like that. It's just like a piano. Nas didn't know, like, what's the structure of this beat? Like, where do I start rapping? You could hear, he asks, yo, how do I start this shit? And I think Premier tells him, like, now, like start now. And then Nas just starts spitting. And it's such a dope thing. It's like, you can't skip that. That's like iconic right there. Like,
Well, definitely. Oh, what did you rate it? You didn't give it a rate. Pooch.
oh, it's just thumbs up. I love this album.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
My
totally.
bad.
Yeah,
Thumbs up.
yeah. You can just assume my rating. All these albums are good. They're all. I didn't dislike listening to anything that anyone suggested. These are all good. I'm glad to have experienced these or re-experienced these, whatever the case may be.
All right. Third album of the on the list is my album. Personal favorite of my album, actually. I like top for me. It's Kid
Is your
Cudi.
favorite album of all time, you're saying?
Yeah, because it's just how it's an impactful album for me. So it's definitely
Definitely earned its title for sure.
Yeah. Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon. This album is a non-skippable album. You can't skip on this album, front to back. It's a fantastic album. Little background history on how I got to actually getting a hold of a hang of anything with Kid Cudi was on MySpace. Kid Cudi had a MySpace, and that's where he was dropping his music. And Day and Night, his most iconic song that he ever dropped, that everybody knew when it dropped, got me into it. But it was with Michael. Another shout out to Michael. May he rest in peace. Me and him would play Kid Cudi a lot when we go out to Wet Willie's and drink and all that shit.
What's that Jackie Chain song?
It's also one of those realms in there too. Like that's me and Michael shit. Like every time that song comes on my playlist, I just remember me and Michael sitting there fucking
rolling,
vibing out.
rolling. We ain't slept in
weeks. Yeah,
bro. It's bro. That whole era was epic for me, man. Like it was a good time. Like getting out of high school, partying, trying to chill, vibe, and Kid Cudi's "Man on the Moon" is. Or a lot of people don't understand too. With Man on the Moon, there's acts in the album, right? So like, people would be like, "Oh, why is it like Shift or something?" The first 3 songs, right? In My Dreams, Soundtrack to My Life, and Simple As. That's Act 1. That's the end of the day. That's like where the whole album ties into. So there's a concept behind it. I would assume Pucho already knew that and stuff because obviously he says he's a concept guy, but.
Actually didn't know that at all. You're putting me
I didn't
on.
either.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah.
I thought it was interesting actually that that the 4 of us all kind of chose like these concept albums, these albums that are all like these kind of like interconnected stories, and I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that was what that speaks to specifically, but I thought it was a weird little like tidbit there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely.
I think. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I think with a lot of these albums too, like. This topic is really dope because it forces you to sit down and listen. Like I know normally on a day-to-day basis, like if somebody recommended me an album, I might just brush through while I'm playing video games or on the phone or something like that and not really getting the meat and potatoes of it. But I didn't know this album was broken down in acts because it clearly doesn't tell you that. But it makes sense because there are parts in here once you really listen to it. So yeah.
You'll hear the difference. And the
They even
ambiance.
sprinkle in like little skits at the end of tracks to kind of be like, all right, we're moving on to the next piece of this. Like,
yeah, definitely. And there's 5 acts. So like, I wrote it down here in notes. All right, so Act 1, obviously, end of the day. Then Act 2 was titled Rise of the Night Terrors. And that's where you get Solo Dolo, you get Heart of a Lion, My World. Then they'll come into Act 3, Taking a Trip. That's where you get the classic Day and Night, The Sky Might Fall, Enter the Galactic. This is where he's tripping and he's just vibing out. And that's where the more upbeat of the album start coming into play. And then you get the Stuck title, or the Stuck Act, where it's Alive, Cudi Zone, and I Make Her Say. And Pursuit of Happiness, one of my favorite on the whole album, even though Day and Night's like a thing, but Pursuit of Happiness is one of my favorites. It's on there.
And got the legendary MGMT on there.
Facts. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then it goes into the Act 5, which is A New Beginning, which is Higher, Up, and Away.
Jam.
And those and that's Chip the Ripper's on that, and that's how I got introduced to Chip the Ripper through that song. Click on it, boom, went into that, and that became a whole nother topic on that. But and then they got bonus tracks, which like Doe mentioned it earlier. I don't understand how the bonus track is Man on the Moon. Man on the Moon should have been in there somewhere on the album originally, right? I don't think it should have been a bonus track. It didn't do any justice for that. But TGIF is on there, and Is There Any Love? And the way
this is also a period in time when deluxes were launching alongside the actual album.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was a weird time.
Yeah.
Didn't this album come with like a holographic cover or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It's got a cool cover. It's got a cool album art. Like it's badass.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fire. And Like this album, like I don't know what it was, bro. It's just it hit me in every different emotion. Like each act was an emotion in itself. Each track had its own emotions. Like Solo Dolo, going back home from drinking all night, partying with the guys. That was my track because I'm Solo Dolo, just taking my own trip, fucking scared if I'm gonna make it home or not, or because you're doing dumb shit when you're drinking and driving. I don't promote that, ladies and gentlemen. We got Uber now. Fucking take an Uber. It's 30 seconds. You good. Get home.
Uber's a game changer.
Yeah, facts. I wish I had it back then in the day. I would have been lit. Yep. But either way, Solo Dolo, Day and Night, that's the party anthem back in the day. Like to this day, when they go to those EDMs and stuff, they have those little mix. They rip off shit like that and all that. And bro, I don't know what it is. Like this thing, his music is timeless for me because you could just play it. It's 18 songs. It's an hour long. And it was just a classic. And every song was some type of pop music. It was always on the radio. And I don't know, bro. I don't think anybody can really say they hate this album. If you say you hate this album, then I don't really think you listen to music or dislike the album.
No, there's zero skips in this album.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like this album hits home for me too, because like Kid Cudi's from Cleveland. I'm from Ohio myself.
Yes.
And it's like, it's not far from where I'm currently at right now. But like, I remember when this album first came out, because he had some mixtapes with Chip the Ripper beforehand.
Yes.
And we used to listen to him and we'd be like, oh, all right, this is dope. But I never really liked Kid Cudi by himself because he was still, he was different at the time. But like when this came out, I remember it clear as day. I used to be doing the same thing, fucking getting lit off my ass. And one time we was baked as shit and somebody turned us on and it was like a whole trip. And I really respected the album because it comes in later. So I want to say maybe once you get to about Solo Dolo or so, that's when it started picking up for me. And I was like, yo, this album is legendary. But I remember when this came out too, we were thinking to ourselves like, everybody liked it, but we were wondering if it was going to be a classic. And this came back out in 2009. So it's been 12, 13 years. It's a certified classic. This is a staple in hip hop.
100%.
Yeah, actually not even hip hop. I would also go along to classify this as a slightly alternative album too, because even though it has rhythmic characteristics on it as well, his voice and how the way he'll, I always say he'll you to death, but at the same time, it has a very non-hip hop characteristic to it as well that I feel like carries the album along with it. It just happens to be the perfect blend. Yeah,
a little bit of like not even house music, but it just has that lo-fi, just dreamy, trippy, hippie music vibe to it, where it's just relaxed. I don't know. Pucha hates all these like descriptions. I'm saying
you had me at the lo-fi. It's lo-fi. Tony with that shit. Wi-Fi.
There's a song. Go ahead.
Dale.
There's a song in particular here of my brother was a big Kid Cudi fan, and so Pursuit of Happiness hits very differently for me. Bro, that shit makes me shed a tear sometimes when I listen to that song. Only because my brother loved that song so much and he was such a big influence in my life. I would chop and screw a lot of Kid Cudi's music, and I chop and screw a lot of music. And even before my brother passed, Fox, that album that you came out with, there was a song on there that I chopped and screwed, and he sent me a text. He's like, "This is the greatest chopped and screwed track that has ever existed."
I feel like this album would lend itself really well to you chopping and screwing it, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so
Hands
good.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was I don't even consider this album like hip hop. Like it's sort of its own genre because they don't really fit in with like R&B. It's not. He raps and shit, but he be singing half the time too. So it's like it's hard to tell what the fuck it even is.
Well, not that it matters too much as far as like how Wikipedia has it categorized as far as the genre. But when I was poking at it, I had to pull it up here because Wikipedia's got the genre for this album is alternative hip hop, psychedelia, and progressive rap.
That's what I was describing.
Rap. Okay, that's yeah.
The concept
rap
is cool. Like I love how the album is split into like 3 song chunks that are all thematically similar, right? You got kind of like chill vibes. You got the like scary, nightmare-y type of depressed shit. Then you got kind of like a new awakening, like, okay, things might be better. And it kind of is a cycle. The album kind of repeats. Like there's 5 acts to the album. At the end of that 5th act, it like you could replay the album and it kind of just feels like it keeps flowing. Like I always thought that was really cool.
If you've ever taken any kind of psychedelics and gone on a kind of like self-discovery journey into your own like mind and psyche a bit, this album gives you vibes of that for sure. Like there's a movement, there's a movement and a falling inwards to this album that I really, really enjoyed.
I think he's in this album, like he's taking you into his mind. That's like he's bringing you into his world, but explaining it in a way that you also are, like you also go through the same world that he's going through. That's why Man on the Moon 2 and stuff, like bro, a lot of people, Man on the Moon is the best one out of all of them, obviously, but the other ones are just as good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Those are actually on my list to listen to now because I saw that there was 2 and 3. I was like, well, now I got to check them all out. I got to see what else is going on.
And I have to give this man
three is crazy. It's like about like some dude like fighting against this like space demon thing. It's like crazy, like what the concept behind all the songs are. So it's I thought, I don't know. I enjoy. I like Tony. I enjoy the Man on the Moon album. One track in particular, like to be different from everybody, because I enjoy being different. Heart of a Lion. All right, this song, the production on this song is so like, it's so interesting because whoever produced that shit, they caught on to like that retro wave or that vapor wave like sound before it caught on. Like go back and re-listen to that and think of it as just listen to the instrumental and you'll be like, oh, one of these vapor wave or retro wave people, they'll release this as a track, just the fucking instrumental. Like it sounds that cool and it has like those retro vibes and all of that. That in particular, it really stood out to me. And then to go back to what Tony was saying about skippings, all right, I'm not a big skipper on albums and shit.
Unless you're going downhill.
Yeah, you gotta skip. It's the most effective way to go downhill.
It's the most effective.
Yeah. You get speed and balance. You won't fall. But the deluxe edition to me takes away from the album because going through those 15 songs, for me, every single song is fantastic. I love every single song. And then Man on the Moon, I also love. I'm bummed out that it's not part of the original album, that it's a deluxe track.
So you love and hate the deluxe track?
You could say so. Because I don't like, I shouldn't say hate, but I don't like TGIF or Is There Any Love. The last 2 songs on the album, it feels like it doesn't fit. Like it's not the same theme as everything else. And it's like, to me, it don't belong there. Like Man on the Moon is like the perfect like send off to the whole album, and it's the titular song. Like it's the song that is the title of the album. Like it feels like it fits thematically, musically, sonically, all of that. But then the next 2 tracks, I'm just like, these almost sound like real hip hop songs, and it's like, why are they here? Like this is not right. Like, and I was kind of bummed out that Spotify only has the deluxe edition because I wish I didn't hear that version of the album because I was like, I loved every song. I was like, yo, this is like I like Lacey loves this album. Like she plays it on occasion, and I never really listened to it. I've listened to various songs, but this is like my first time sitting down and listening to it straight through. And I'm like, this is incredible. There's no skips. I don't got no problems. I like every single thing. There's one song that I didn't like the beginning, and I'm like, oh, okay, this might be, and then it just hooked me anyways. I'm like, all right, cool. Everything on this album is fantastic, and I was like kind of bummed out to get to the end, and those feelings didn't sustain, and I'm like, damn, this deluxe just like took away a little bit.
No,
It is super weird that A Man on the Moon was not included. It'd be like Thriller, not including Thriller on the fucking album.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like even Kid Cudi, bro. Like he put me on a Lady Gaga. That song, Make Her Say, he ripped the sample from Lady Gaga, Poker Face. Like so, like I've obviously followed that. Went to Lady Gaga. Oddly enough, me listening to Lady Gaga song, just had to see how he got it from and whatever. Like, put me on to her, and it's just crazy because it's like a lot of these trippy songs or whatever, bro. It's fucking. I don't know what it is. It might be just because of the sound waves that fuck up my brain or something that just makes me attract to these little weird ass sounds. But like, Lady Gaga also was a fantastic artist herself.
That song "Make Her Say" is crazy because the beat is cool. Mm-hmm. The sample is fucking fire. The way they sampled it and wove the sample into the song where he's talking about getting a blowjob, basically. He's talking, I'm gonna poke her face on my dick, is what he's saying, really.
Yep.
And then you got Kanye and Common on there, you know, Chicago representing and shit. It's like you can't hate on it. There's nothing to dislike about it.
Let's take some time.
And I've never heard that song until this listen, and I was like, this is incredible. Like,
that one's got the line that made me laugh out loud, right? The getting brain in the library because I love knowledge. Yeah. That line is so good. It's so fucking funny too.
The whole song's about just getting head, and he's talking, I'm a poker face with this dick.
Yeah, pretty much. And then get Kanye and Common on it. I was like, how the fuck you get those collabs? Like,
yeah, 100%. Absolutely. I was gonna say you gotta appreciate Kanye's artistic views on certain stuff. I feel like only him would be able to flip something like that, you know, and those classic drums that he uses too.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know any of the producers on this whole album except for that song which Kanye West produced.
This pick made total sense to Tony pick. Like listening to the lyrics, listening to the way that the album went through. This seems like a Tony album. I enjoyed every single moment of listening to this.
No, yeah, it definitely. It was hard for me to pick. I had to listen to 3 albums to pick this because I was gonna pick the Carter from Lil Wayne.
Oh, that's a good one,
bro. That's the Carter. Come on, bro. Like everybody knows Lil Wayne, bro. Like you can't not pick Lil Wayne, but it's hard. This one kind of just touched more home for me. But other than that, yeah. What do you guys rate? Give me your ratings. Let me listen to it.
I'm giving this a 5 out of 5, hands down, because I didn't respect it at first, but now I love it, and I see why it's a timeless classic now. So yeah.
Yeah, this is a classic. This is a must listen if you're a hip hop fan. There's no way you should be sleeping on this album.
Yeah.
Nope.
Same. But those exact words. Control C, Control V.
Yeah, I would have to say this is also a must listen. So you gotta listen to this.
Yeah, they ain't no you can't or don't want to. Like this shit is classic. For our next album, we got Pucho's Coheed and Cambria in Keeping Secrets. Sorry, someone's knocking at my door. I apologize. Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. Go ahead, Pooch. Hit me with it.
All right. So Coheed and Cambria is my favorite band ever. But it wasn't always like that, all right? I actually got put on to them. I listened to them for the first time playing Rock Band with Doe. Did not like the music. But Mike and Doe put me on Circa, this other band, Circa Survive. I went to go see one of their shows, and Coheed was headlining, and I was like, all right, I guess I got to listen to Coheed now so that I could, like, prep for this concert or whatever. And their music just turned out to be way better than I expected, right? And so I had burned a couple of their CDs because, you know, this is the pirating days. We were downloading all day, every day.
Kaza Bear Share.
LimeWire.
And
yeah.
This is right when I was kind of moving away from home. Like I moved right after this. This was like this is like spring, summertime almost. Right, months later, I moved to Orlando, and you know, it was a big move for me because it's like I didn't have no family out there. I didn't have no friends out there. I had been living with my girlfriend at the time, like in a bedroom, but I was so close to home. It's like I was going to my mom's crib every day, so it didn't really feel like I had gone anywhere really. Mm-hmm. So now me and my girlfriend moved to Orlando, and we got an apartment and all that shit. And I'm going to college and doing shit, and it's like you know, my mom's had got cancer. My best friend passed away. One of my best friends passed away. I was like failing classes, and like the only thing that was like steady at that time was just like all that music that I had burned before I left was all in my car. And it was like every time I'll get in my car, I was just like, all right, this kind of is like home right now. And it was that I had 3 Coheed albums and 2 Cirque albums that I could have picked for this, because it was and the fucking Razia Shadow shit, like all of this was in my whip, and it was like it was the only shit that was like steady for me that I was like, all right, cool, like. These are the albums that I was listening to right before I moved to Orlando, and these are the albums that stood in my car during all of this. So it was just like I got really attached to all this music, and of course, then learning like Coheed and Cambria's, all their albums are based on like this whole comic book story that the guy wrote out, and all the lyrics relate to. I mean, the way the dude writes it is like. He has all these life experiences that he basically is writing a comic book about. He's like, all right, this girl cheated on me. Let me figure out how to write this into my comic book. And then I'm going to make this song about it. And like, so it's like, it's personal to him, and it's like a cool concept, and it's relatable because it's not just a comic book story, but it's like, it's human. Like it's happening. You know, some of these things happen to him and shit. So like for all those reasons, all these records, like you know, super important to me. And this album in particular, I had listened to their first album, and it was good. And it's actually, I think I like that album better than this one, but this is the one that made me like fall in love with this band, and this is the one that I kind of kept coming back to, that I was like, oh my God, these songs are incredible. They're hype, all this shit, and yeah, for that reason, that's why I chose that.
I like that. I like that a lot. Tell me about the Amory Wars. Is that what it is? Is that what the concept behind all these albums essentially?
Yeah, the Amory Wars.
Amory Wars.
Yeah.
Have you read the comic?
I got some of them right behind me. The story is basically like. These parents of these kids, they're like cyborgs that were created like a long time ago, and their fucking memory got wiped, and some people come to them to like kind of like refresh their memories, but it's actually like their enemies. So they're like, they've kind of discovered where they were in hiding, and they refresh their memories, and they're like, all right, this is what you got to do for us. Like, they basically gave him like a bogus story, like, oh, your family got like this virus and it's gonna like wipe out the whole population, so you got to kill your family, blah blah blah. So the dude ends up killing his kids, except for the main character. Yeah, and then
gosh,
but then it turns out like, oh, there's some prophecy with these kids. Like one of these kids is supposed to be the one that brings the downfall of the empire. So it's a whole galactic thing. Like their galaxy is like, there's like 78 planets in their solar system with like 7 stars, and it's some crazy Star Wars type of shit. And then this album in particular is after all of that happens, the one kid that survived, his parents are dead, his siblings are dead, and he's like trying to link up with his uncle to kind of like fight back against the empire, pretty much, like the emperor, pretty much.
Star Wars.
So this is the Empire Strikes Back of the Coheed albums.
Yeah, it ends a little tragic. Yeah, the good guys get fucked up, some good guys get killed, and yeah, they're in dire straits at the end of the album. So it's definitely the Empire Strikes Back.
This was a cool pick for me. This is a very cool pick because like I've heard some Coheed, right? But I've heard like snippets, like what I mean, the one that you talked about in Rock Band, that's Welcome Home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Welcome Home is
probably
the big
most
song. That's the
popular
one that
song.
everyone knows from Coheed, right? And it's a good,
Yeah.
good fucking song. I'm actually surprised it didn't grab you when you were playing Rock Band because that guitar riff at the beginning, iconic.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that was the era where I was still kind of turned off to rock, so my brain wasn't open to accepting new things.
that I got introduced with that with Pucho, obviously, and we went to a live band. We went to a show, their show, obviously, and that's when I said, you know what, I'm gonna just start listening to all this Coheed stuff and try to just get a feel for them. And I'll tell you this, it is very different listening through a fucking some audio device versus in a show. Like that shit hits different. I like listening to them live. Like that
Okay,
shit.
so that's major.
Yeah, no, it's major. It's major because I don't really listen to Coheed and Cambria like that at all. But there are some songs that I like, but watching them live, it's just you get a feel. Like it's just like, damn, like this shit is. It's just, and it's different too, because like shows for music, like hip hop or whatever, it's alive. It's a different atmosphere. You feel involved now with the music, and that's what with Coheed and Cambria, the whole storyline. Like I didn't know the storyline dragged on to 3 different other albums or whatever. Like Pucha was saying, like, oh, it's a whole entire story. I'm like, that's cool. Like I didn't really know that because I don't listen to them like that. But if it's playing, I'll jam out to it because I mean it's good. Like if you can, and my thing with some of those songs, I didn't really hear the vocals enough because it was just a lot of like instrument sounds and shit. So it kind of overpowered. But for the most part, let's just say Sniper. That's my favorite. That I don't know what it is. I just like when he sings that shit. That shit is, to me, that's fire. But either way,
I honestly, I was stuck between 2 Coheed albums and a Proto Man album. And I was like, which one am I gonna pick? And I picked this one because of you, Tony.
Because of me?
Just because I thought you would like that song, and there was I thought you would find it funny that the one of the tracks right before that, the story is like there's like this serial killer that's like following the crew, and he's trying to kill one of the characters. So he's screaming like die white girl, like he's trying to kill this white chick that's like, and I was just like, oh, this is hilarious. Like I bet Tony will find this shit funny. Like so like in all honesty, like I was kind of torn between a few picks, and I picked this one because you. So
damn, that's love.
I was expecting the Proto Man. I was thinking it was going to be that second Proto Man album is the one you were going to pick.
Yeah, I love the album to death. It's again one of my all-time favorite albums, but it doesn't. For me, it's not impactful in the same way. Like I don't have. It's just music that I love. It doesn't. I don't know. It just hit different for me. Like the time when I was listening to all these records, you know, I was in a lonelier place. I didn't have any friends. I was like by myself, and again, this music just like gave me some kind of connection to where I came from in a sense.
All right, you guys ready? I'm gonna give you my review on this. You ready?
Go for it.
So one, Pucho, that's deep for why you like this album. And I could kind of see why this gravitated towards you in a sense, because when I first listened to this myself, I felt like the album had a lot going on, especially at the beginning. And it was kind of, you had to really like sit and like process like what was going on. And the backstory that you provided in the Discord chat, you know, it really brought all that stuff together. But as I was continuing to listen to this album, it gets better as you go, for sure. But this album was very interesting to me because I think out of my favorite tracks, A Favorite House Atlantic is my favorite off of this, but I also really like Cuts Marked in a March of Men. That's my jam too. But when A Favorite House Atlantic comes on and she's like, your eyes tell a story, I was like, oh yeah, let's go. Because that track reminds me of like anime. I'm a huge anime fan, and it reminds me of like a very, how do you put it? On a mission, things are going good. You're finally out of your sunken place, but you know, things are starting to pick up. And then of course, you know, the album's getting ready to end after that. I think you got 2113 and I think another song on there. But this album itself was interesting. I've never heard Coheed ever. And I thought it wasn't heavy enough for me when I first started listening to it, but I respect where it comes in at. And I respect the adventure for this particular album as well. I see that a lot of other people don't necessarily like it, but I think it's just because there's other albums that are similar to this back at that point in time, but at the same time, I think that they did it their way and they did it to their best ability. So,
no, for sure. And I in all honesty, I think putting the second album kind of takes a little bit away, because listening to the first album first, not even from a story perspective, but like from the fact that this is a sequel album. So it's like, having listened to the first album, there's themes in this album that are directly jacked from the first album.
Yeah.
And even 2113, the last track, it's like they have their original music that they made for the track, but then they jack two different songs off their first album. They're basically replaying chunks of music with different lyrics to it, kind of like saying, like, kind of putting a little bow on, like, yo, this is a sequel. We're grabbing these themes and we're kind of wrapping up this act of our story. And again, even without all the story, just from a musical perspective, it feels there's a thing even the Proto Men do a lot, that like taking themes from previous songs and from previous albums and things like that. It feels like nostalgic, even though you might have just listened to it like an hour ago. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, that's familiar. I remember this. And it's, to me, it's something that adds a bit to the album. But like, you guys obviously didn't have that. I wasn't going to tell you have to listen to this album to listen to this. You know what I mean? It seemed ridiculous.
Yeah, this was very interesting.
And the next album, I think, is probably... I think the next album is probably their best album. Conceptually, that one's fucking crazy. Because it's like... basically, the characters catch wind that God is going to end the world somehow. And the characters are trying to stop God from ending the world. And then they introduce God, and God is just some dude that his girlfriend's cheating on him. He's a comic book writer. So you find out, oh, this whole story is just a comic book story. This guy's just writing it, and he's trying to end his story. He's pissed off that his girl cheated on him. He's about to kill, fuck the whole story up and just be done with this shit. And then there's some kind of Cool World, I don't know if you ever watched that movie, Cool World, where
Cool World.
the fucking author of the story enters the story as like God, and it's all this like crazy shit, and it sounds nuts, but the dude is sick in the head, like he's crazy. So like at the end of it, you don't even know if any of this stuff you're listening to is even real. Like this shit might just be all the ramblings of this crazy dude. He might not even have a comic book or nothing like that.
What is that? Good Apollo on Burning Star?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna add that. Yeah, right
from
now,
Fear. From they got two albums with the same name, but from.
But why?
Well, because it's a two-parter. It's Good Apollo and Burning Star 4. One's called From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. The other one's called No World for Tomorrow. But it's From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness is the album.
So you're saying the dude from Red Hands is God in your music? That's what you're saying.
Ooh.
It's not what I'm saying, but yeah, something like that.
The plot
something
twist.
like that. Yeah.
Thinking
like
Deer
that.
Hunter and Coheed and Cambria all intertwined.
Nah, I would love that shit. Yeah, there's one track called The Writing Writer, and it's the guy writing the story. He's talking about, I'm gonna kill all these motherfuckers, all this shit, and he's just sick in the head. He's crazy. Like he got cheated on. He's thinking about killing this bitch, and he's just mad at the world. And the characters are like we need to find God somehow and stop this shit from happening. Like, it's crazy.
That's an insane
I honestly debated picking that because it, to me, is more accessible, and to Fox's point, it's heavier. So if like you're looking for that heavier, darker feel, that album got it.
To me, out of all the albums, this was my favorite. This was, for me, the easiest to listen to, front to back. I was like, wow, it's over already. I was very surprised. I was like, man, this was a very easy listen.
An hour and 15 minutes. It's over already. These prog rock albums are too fucking long.
This album and Doey's pick, they kind of go hand in hand, right? Like they're very similar kind of like types of albums for sure. I mean, they're both prog rock, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Doey's album got more instruments on it. Like Coheed is more like a heavy rock feel. The Deer Hunter's like you got pianos, you got harps, you got like there's a lot of sound, so that it just feels really grand.
Yeah.
But they're, again, aside from that, they're very fucking similar.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. Just a storyline, and I watched them live, so I kind of have some I guess, love for them. So, but yeah, it's definitely.
I enjoyed diving into Coheed a little bit more because, like I said, like I'd heard the popular stuff, but Coheed's never exactly been like my exact type of rock that I listen to when I'm looking for rock. But I'm starting to, these concept albums, these like rock opera kind of things are kind of starting to grow on me. I think that Proto Man album, that second album, is the one that really like planted the seed in me where I want more of that.
I'll tell you this. Something about these, there's certain albums that are hard to listen to. Coheed and Cambria is hard to listen to. The Deer Hunter is hard. The Proto Man is hard. In the sense that, like, the first time I listened to all of those bands, I didn't like the music. And it took re-listening, revisiting, and stuff like that for me to, like, grow love into that music and being like, okay, this is some of my favorite shit ever. And, so, you know, sometimes the things you like best isn't as accessible as other things. And, you know, that doesn't say that it's worse or even the more accessible stuff is worse. It's just different. Like, yeah, sometimes you just want a fucking McChicken and you don't need you don't need the crazy steak with all the thing. Like sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes that double quarter pounder hits the spot, you know?
Absolutely. That sounds good right now.
Just as long as you're seasoning that chicken.
Yeah. And some people like Tony, they don't put salt on food. That's crazy to me.
Diablo.
He's gonna live long if he does that.
Yeah, that's true.
Gonna be looking like me.
See, I'm on my CEO vibe, man. I gotta live forever.
Hey, well, I'm gonna give you my review here because this album sits in where Doey's album sat in. So I was gonna fault it because I felt like it wasn't easy for me to pick up, but that was me being biased, not giving it time. So got halfway through, and something that I normally do when I really want to dive into something, I'll let it play halfway and then I'll flip it back to the beginning so that way I can, start from the top and see if I missed out on something. Mm-hmm. This album definitely has a lot going on, and I was going to give it a 3 out of 5, but since it's so artistic, and after listening to you, Pucho, explain it even more, along with that Reddit feed that you showed us, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 because now I'm interested in the band, like Mateo said. And I want to kind of listen to some of these other albums too, just to kind of get the concept because, the artistry is definitely there. So,
yeah. The dude does not look like how his voice does not sound how you would expect it to sound looking at that lead singer of Coheed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing that drew me to the band. And another band like, oh my God, what's the other band? Chino Moreno's the lead singer. He's a Mexican dude. They're a very similar band to Coheed. They're constantly compared, but the name's escaping me right now. I'll remember in a second. The Deftones. That's the band.
Okay.
I love that the lead singer of Coheed is a Puerto Rican dude. Like I just, to me, that's like is so different than like aside from like Bootsy Collins and like fucking, oh my God, Jimi Hendrix, right? How many black rock stars do you know? Like it's not many. In Prince, like it's just not that much. And so it's interesting to me to be like, oh look, there's a Puerto Rican dude. This is very different than our typical stuff. So it's just another thing that kind of attracted me. I'm not Puerto Rican at all. I don't rep those motherfuckers, but still, I appreciated it, Seeing him live, he got his fucking guitar like a real Puerto Rican. He got a big ass Puerto Rican flag on there. He got these motherfuckers always repping everywhere. So it's like, I appreciated that. I thought it was cool.
I always love seeing non-white dudes in rock bands. Sum 41 was one of my favorite bands in the world back in high school because the lead guitarist is like an Indian dude or something. He's a brown dude. I'd like to sing, some non-white people in my music.
Yeah, man, it definitely brings it in full circle for sure. I wish we had more in today's age, but I don't know. Everybody wants to rap, it seems like nowadays.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you love us. Make sure you like us. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you share us. And for all of that, I give you one kiss.
Is it the chef's kiss or Poseidon's kiss?
He's stingy with his kiss this time. Remember last time he gave you like 3 or 4 kisses.
Mm-hmm. Not anymore. I need to see those likes go up. I need to see those subs go up before you get any more love from me.
It's an eye for an eye.
Yeah. You can find us anywhere you find anything. Just type our names in there. Sometimes on a quiet, cold night, you can hear our name being yelled in the distance.
That's the people trying to subscribe.
The One Up
So-
Podcast.
The One Up Podcast. You hear my daughter going crazy?
Nah, you can't hear her.
So since Tony's not here, I'm gonna intro the next topic. Matter of fact, do it, Tony. Do it, Tony.
This is the final album, right?
Yes.
The last and final album. All Hail Texas.
All hell, West Texas.
Ooh,
By the Mountain
All
Goats.
Hail West Texas. Don't see the.
It's by the Mountain Goats.
By the Mountain Goats. All right.
All right, I should have my tail.
I was going to do a Tony impersonation. Hey, Mateo, so hit me up with that next album pick. I think it's All Hail West Texas by the Mountain Goats. Oh, thanks, Tony.
On the cover art, it says 14 songs about 7 people, 2 houses, a motorcycle, and a locked treatment facility for adolescent boys.
So I think that there might be a theme here because this album definitely like it released in 2000, 2001, I want to say. And I started listening to it when I first left for college. And my college experience was very much like I was a stranger to strange land. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was still kind of coming out of like my awkward shell a little bit and figuring out the person I wanted to be. And this album really spoke to me. I spent a lot of time when I was in college, just walking around late at night, just chain smoking cigarettes and listening to music. That was my happy place because I was, I was in a dorm room with my roommate, and we were all right. We weren't like we didn't hate each other, but there's not a lot of privacy in college just when you're in that kind of situation. So walking around listening to music was my sanctuary. It was my little bit of peace that I could take with me. And this album speaks to a lot of the things that I was kind of feeling there. There's a lot of these songs are about longing. The very first song, the best ever death metal band out of Denton, is about feeling out of place. It's about like not feeling like you belong, and you find one person that you can kind of like experience this with. And I was missing my buddies that I kind of had that kind of like sanctuary with back in Austin. So there's a lot of songs that really speak to me. There's songs about heartbreak and this longing, this desire for something more, this feeling like you're a little bit incomplete.
Yes.
It's definitely. I think that this is also definitely kind of like an inaccessible album, because this is the last album the Mountain Goats recorded where it was just John Darnielle, the lead singer for the Mountain Goats, and he recorded this on a Panasonic boombox that he just put a tape in, he hit record, and it was just a man and a guitar just playing and singing, and that's the entirety of the production for this album. It's basically as lo-fi as you can get, and the songs are very layered because he is a very interesting individual. He's incredibly bright. He works so many like literary references into his work. He's a wild person. There's an entire podcast about his music called "I Only Listen to the Mountain Goats." It's worth listening to, even if you don't care about the album itself. His brain is just so interesting. He is such a fantastically bright person. Cool thing is actually in 2020 when COVID hit, he whipped out that same boombox and he recorded another album entirely just through the boombox. Another solo out, like another him is the only member like album. But when he recorded it in 2020, he was using the same boombox, but because it was so old, he had to put it on its side because if he had it like sitting up the normal way, it wouldn't record properly.
That's crazy.
But yeah, there's so much in this album that I just really relate to. There's this line in the first song that's when you punish a person for dreaming his dream, don't expect them to forgive or what is it? Oh man, it was right there and it just vanished. When you punish a person for dreaming his dream, don't expect him to thank you or forgive you. I like that idea, like this idea that the world kind of tries to like crush your dreams, and you just have to push through and do what you want to do. That song Jenny is just pure freedom. That might be my favorite song on the album. It's definitely up there. It's my top 2 or 3 on the album because it's just this song about total freedom. They're jumping on the back of this motorcycle and they're just taking off towards the horizon. They have no outstanding warrants for their arrest. They've got 900 cubic centimeters of raw winding power, and they're just taking off. Even God doesn't have his eyes on them.
Yeah. And now black and yellow Kawasaki.
Black and yellow Kawasaki.
That's a very memorable bar from this album. Now that you tell me that it's from like that far back, I guarantee this album has something to do with the Dewey Cox part. Like that part of the movie where Dewey Cox changes and has a phase. I think it's the first or second song, is very similar to the like structure that Dewey Cox is using. I guarantee it's because of this album. He wrote all those songs originally, and I was like, yo, this sounds so similar to what Dewey Cox did in that one phase of his life. And it's funny because he's like, oh, this people say that you sound like Bob Dylan. And he's like, why does everybody say that? How come everybody doesn't go to Bob Dylan and say, hey, you sound like Dewey Cox?
He obviously sounded exactly like Bob Dylan.
Yeah, but once I heard that, I gravitated towards the album. I'm like, all right, I'm into this. I need to know what's up. I like that with just the guitar, he creates a lot of different sounds, like themes for the music. And I'm like, he also uses different singing styles on songs that cross different genres. I'm like, this is not what he was doing a few songs back. This is kind of brand new, which that's what I picked up on when I listened to the album. I was very raw with the sound, and it was just raw, very raw. That's what I could say. And I was very surprised with how the range he had with just his voice and an instrument.
It's another very much like a young man's album. It is, it's raw emotion. Exactly. It's not polished. It's not, it's not filled out. If this were a studio album, there would be, bass guitar and drums, and it would be this very full sound, but it's just this so minimalist, and that's kind of like what I gravitate towards with it. There are not a lot of albums out there that make me feel as emotional as some of the songs in this album. Like there's, I don't know what it is that I relate to so much in some of these songs, but there are just so many themes that just hit me very, very, very close.
Yeah. I'll be honest, this was my favorite album out of the bunch. And a lot of this goes back to what you two have just said already. This album is so raw for your own good, pause, but it's great. Like, as soon as you turn it on, it reminds you of like Bob Dylan. I'm going to take it back even further. So, for instance, like there was a line in, what's it called? The Best Ever Death Metal Band in Denton, where it's going upon like Hail Satan and a couple of other things. Kind of touching back to some music history, Robert Johnson was evidently the first artist to so-called sell his soul to Satan, but he got miraculous ability to play the guitar and be able to tell stories over that as well, which then turned into Bob Dylan. And I feel like this has that as well. The way that he recorded this album, Mateo, like you said, with the Panasonic player, that's like ingenious because it's literally a direct connection between man and machine. And I feel like throughout this album, like it touches points on, like you said, loneliness, spiritual warfare, wanting to go on the right path, but also being able to be free to do what you want to do. And like on one of the lines here, let me get my notes here. It says, where's it at? So the best ever death metal band out of Denton will in time both outpace and outlive you. Oh yeah. And Hail Satan, it's like the mentality of going out there and finding your own happiness and coming to what you want, regardless if it's going to be on the good side of faith or if it's going to be on a bad side of faith, and also dealing with all those emotions that go along with it in its raw form that he captured here. It's ingenious. this was the best one that I listened to out of everyone's. So.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was a little worried about my pick. I had a lot of other ones that I considered. Like my favorite band in the world might be it's probably this band called Pavement, and Wowie Zowie, Slanted and Enchanted, amazing albums, but they don't quite hit me with every song the way that this one does. There's the song Riches and Wonders, which if you listen to it, it's got layers, because you listen to it and it's like, okay, cool, this is a song about this couple in love, and they're talking about how much they treasure their relationship and how that's their riches and wonders. Their true riches and wonders is a relationship. But you look at some of the lyrics, and they talk about like how they dance like drunken sailors, lost at sea, out of our minds. And it's not exactly, it doesn't really strike you as like a real good kind of love line. Like that's not drunken sailors lost at sea, out of our minds is how they're describing their love. That's not exactly a happy love. Yeah. I like that a lot of the songs weave together. Kind of, you can find connections between them. There's no direct reference, but you can kind of, like Jenny. You could reason that the chick Jenny from the motorcycle, she's in 2 or 3 of the other songs. Like she might be this person that they're singing about in Riches and Wonders. It might be, she could be referenced in some of these other songs. I like the idea of this interconnectivity. That's what I was kind of picking up with a lot of our albums. There's this narrative that flows through them.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, on this album you chose, I told Pooja yesterday, was probably a hard listen for me, because it's not it's definitely nothing I ever listened to before, and it seems like he's just talking and playing the guitar. That's what it is. That's what he's doing. So it takes me for a loop. Like this, like yesterday, it was hard for me to listen. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I didn't really like it too much, but I played a little bit.
I was expecting it to be a hard listen for you, honestly. Like I was like, I know this is going to be very different from what Tony usually likes.
Yeah. Very different. But I listened to some of it today, and I think it was the song is Fault Lines or
yeah.
I kind of like that one in the sense that he's explaining like money and shit. To me, I was getting like, yo, money ain't everything. Like you got money, he don't got money. It's like you're the same. It's not like, and that's when I started listening to it. I'm like, all right, I kind of like this one, and I started listening a little bit to. I didn't go through the whole album, but I started going back when the second run. I started going back and picking which ones I might like. The talking is hard because it seems like he's off. He's not. I'm used to rhyming, right? You got to rhyme with the thing. So this is definitely really. It's hard for me. Like it's just like. It's like me, I just play the guitar, I'm just, yeah, she left the gas station and I'm moving along. Damn, but the dog came up me and bit me on my bun. And that's like that's what I'm getting from it. So he's telling a story. He's not necessarily trying to rhyme, but he's just telling it off of feels, which I get. I respect that. This is all feeling very emotional and expressive.
Well, he breaks a lot of like songwriting things too, right? Like there's not exactly choruses in most of these songs. There's not. Yeah, no. It's not following that verse chorus like format that you're used to. Like it's different for sure. He breaks a lot of rules in the way that like a young man is willing to break a lot of rules when they're doing things, because fuck tradition, right? Like, well, I'm gonna do my own thing.
I'm all about that. I like it. Fuck it. That's that. And I kind of respect it though. Like it's definitely not my taste of music, but I respect it because I'm making it. I'm doing it how I want to do it. Fuck what you think. Like it, you don't like it. I'm gonna play it, and that's commendable. I'm not.
And that's where the best music comes from, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna touch base too. Sorry to interrupt, but going back towards the beginning of this album as well, I just found in my notes here that I got another line that stood out to me big time. So I want to say, I believe this is also from Best Death Metal Band in Denton, but he goes and he says, "Hey, I got some Clorox that'll get that heart off your sleeve." That was deep. Like, yeah, you think you got the balls to do something, but there's always something in life that will make you second guess of some sort. But I like that a lot. Sorry, I just wanted to point that out.
No, you good. That's great.
Now, so before I get into what I liked about the album, because I'm a negative Nancy, I hated this album the first time I listened to it, and it felt like it really challenged me because I'm like how could I hate something that somebody else loves, right? So I'm like, maybe I need to reframe the way I'm listening to this, and some backstory. To listen to all this music, right? I'm a busybody, right? I constantly have to be doing something. So I was playing Construction Simulator and I was playing Grass Mowing Simulator. I was cutting grass
the fuck
and
is
just
wrong with
listening to music because it was like, all right, I need to keep myself occupied so I could just listen to the music, right? So that's kind of what I was doing while I re-listened to all these albums. And for this album in particular, it wasn't the way. And I think that's why maybe halfway through I was like, man, all these songs just sound the same, and like, you know, it kind of hit me like something ain't clicking for me. So then after I finished the album, I had like a couple songs that I liked, but for the most part, I didn't like the album. So I started listening to the Mountain Goats podcast, which the first season of the podcast covers this first album. So I listened to like 3 or 4 episodes, which was somewhat enlightening. And also somewhat perplexing because it basically, they have some fans of the podcast, of the album come on and just talk about it. And they love it so much. And I'm just like, how come I didn't feel this way? Like, so this morning, you know, I woke up, I took a shower, I laid back in my bed. My daughter was there, my wife was there. And I just put the song on my phone and I just put it like right on my shoulder, like by my ear. And I just laid in the bed and did nothing else. And I'm like, all right, musically, I'm not a fan of the album. Like I like the one man and a guitar gets tiring, especially when the vibe of a lot of songs is like kind of like a campfire song. It's just like a lot of strumming and a lot of chords. And that's about it. Like, but this time I'm like, all right, let me like really like listen to all the words. And I didn't finish the whole album. I got like, I mean, I missed like the last 5 songs. So I listened to like 12 songs this morning. And I really started to enjoy it, believe it or not. And I already spoke to Dory and Tony about this. I'm like, yo, how do y'all feel about this album? Like, this shit's crazy. Like, this shit just sounds the same to me. Like, I expressed that I didn't like it, so I figured they'd be a little surprised. But I kind of like the album now. Like, so the songs I liked originally were the best ever death metal band in Denton. That song is fucking awesome.
That song's good.
And then Blues in Dallas was cool.
Blues in Dallas is weird.
I love it. One, it reminds me of Earthbound, which is weird. So there is a weird vibe to it, like that I was like, okay, something about this is weird. But it was also refreshing because all the songs are just one man and a guitar, and this opens with like a synth or like I don't even know what instrument that is. Maybe it's a piano.
I think it might be. I think it might be a toy piano, but I'm not positive. I think it might be a toy piano. It sounds
weird. Like it has like an air, like some kind of like wind aspect to it, but it feels like a piano. I don't know. But so that was the reason that song in particular like stood out to me. I was like, oh, this song is different, and it just sort of like I enjoyed it for that reason. But like in re-listening to it, like you were saying just a second ago, Matteo, I feel like Jenny is something that like clicked for me this morning as I was listening to it. I feel like these 3 songs all weave together. It's like you got Jenny, he falls in love with this chick, they like ride out and have like this beautiful romantic relationship. And then I think in Riches and Wonder, that love is like starting to like get stale a little bit. Like they don't know what they're doing. Like maybe they rushed into this or something. And then in The Mess Inside, which is actually my favorite song on the album.
The Mess Inside is good.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite song on the album. That is these people trying to like keep this like flame alive, but they can't. And I feel like it's that relationship falling apart. Like they talk about going to the Bahamas, they dance to every single fucking song, but they're just still not in love. Like they're trying to
they tried to fight the creeping sense of dread with temporal things. That's one of my favorite lines on the fucking album.
Exactly, right?
That's deep.
Dancing with somebody feels good right now. It's not gonna make you feel in love with the person forever. And I enjoyed that some of the songs sort of weave together, and then just in listening to the words, it's very deep. You could tell this is somebody that either has a lot of personal experiences with like heartbreak and failure, or knows and seen a lot of people go through this, because the way that he goes about telling these stories, it feels too raw and personal to not be. You know what I mean? It's hard to imagine that this person just like invented this like out of thin air, you know?
So the way that I re-experienced this album when I was listening for doing my homework is I seriously just went on a drive. I went on a long drive on this mostly empty highway out here in Austin, and I put this album on. I also put on the Kid Cudi one. The Kid Cudi one is also a good like empty highway album.
Yes. He was telling me that solo dolo.
Solo dolo.
So let me ask you guys this Mountain Goats album, I do agree with you, Pucho. It is a little bit long in the tooth, but what would make it perfect? Do you think if it was 8-9 tracks, you think that would be it?
If it was less songs, I would love it. I'd like it way more, because there's some songs, not to say that it doesn't belong, because I mean, it's hard to tell the artist what belongs in their art. You know what I'm saying? Like, who am I to say that? But for me, an album that sounds so similar, it's hard for it to be an hour long. Like, it's like, shit, this is just too long. Like, if it was like in the 39-minute range, and you cut some like, you know, you picked, because he kind of goes over a few themes. Like, there's themes. Overall, I feel like the theme is like failure, like, is what I think it's all about. It's like you're the best death metal band in Denton. It's like, what accomplishment is that? Like, you're a failure. Like, the guy with a lot of money that can't buy his happiness, he's failing. The relationship that maybe they wrote out and they're happy now, but it don't work out. You're still failing. Like
the star running back that broke his leg in his junior year and then started selling acid.
Right.
What?
Yeah, the second track on the album. He's the star running back. It's a really sad story. The guy's like the cool guy in high school. He blows his knee out, and then he expands his like the people he associates with, from just the jocks to other people, and he realizes, oh, there's beauty in everybody. But then also, to live, he was selling drugs, so he got bagged selling acid, and he goes to jail. You know. So he's like, even in the happiness, there's a sad like ending there. So sorry, what I was getting at was like, overall, the theme of all of this is like, to me, it feels like failure, and some of the beauty in failure, that there's still beautiful things. Like, even this terrible relationship that didn't work out, you still got a song and a half of like happiness. Like, so it's like, you know, it's not to not try. It's just whatever. It just happens to be about failure. I feel like find the songs that fit that core concept more specifically, and start cutting out what you can, unfortunately. Like, and that sucks, because it's like, again, the guy made 20 songs for it to be 20 songs. Like, but for me, I think that would make it better, just a shorter album.
Yeah,
but
that's well said. I think that's kind of touching back to what I was saying earlier about the Hail Satan blips that you get throughout this whole album. You kind of have to go on that path of destruction in order to figure out what's, you know, good for you and to make beauty out of it. So that's well said. So appreciate that.
My daughter was jamming out to the best ever death metal band. She was going ham. She was going like this. Like, she was like strumming. It was hilarious, dude. I was like, I've never seen her do this. So I was like, all right, maybe this is even before I started enjoying the music. So I'm like, if my 2-year-old gets it, like, maybe I gotta try harder. Like, and then when he started going, Hail Satan, my wife's like, take this shit off. But it's interesting to learn the guy's like super Christian.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the podcast, he was talking about like what would be more ironic than a super Christian guy making a song about a goth kid, because I think he used to be goth and things like that.
He's all over the place. I think he went to like seminary school at some point too. Damn. And he's had some addiction issues. Like, he is an interesting guy.
Why the Mountain Goat or Mountain Goats? Like, why that name?
It's intriguing.
Yeah, I have never looked into like the history of the name. I don't know if any of the podcasts or various interviews that I've read have ever dove into it.
I mean, for me, like, I wouldn't mind listening to it again if it. I guess I just need something more than just the guitar, like maybe some drums or just some other musical instrument. Because I mean, I don't mind someone's storytelling. It's a banjo and him pretty much, and it's just like, like damn. Like, it's hard. I mean, like I said, Fault Lines was the only one I can kind of like grasp and I wasn't hating it. I kind of understood what he was saying there. But for the most part, I mean, yeah, it's not first time listening to it. Yeah, it was hard. I was in traffic, getting out of work, and it was just like, fuck this shit. But, you know, like I said, I went back and listened to it a little bit this morning, and I was like, okay, he's saying something here. There's some substance behind this. So, yeah, it's definitely, it needs playthroughs. I'm not going to lie. Like, for me, I ain't going to gravitate to normal, like, stuff like that. But it was definitely interesting for me to listen. Like, your pick was the more, like, why did Mateo pick this? Why does he like this? Mm-hmm. And it intrigued me more that way than more of just, like, I don't hate it anymore. It just is more intriguing. It's like a curiosity for the cat. You know what I mean? As long as I don't die from it.
For me, it was definitely the most challenging listen out of the bunch, with Kid Cudi and Illmatic being a bit easier, especially for me. That Illmatic is I love this album. I've already listened to it. I've already dissected it. It's like, So the not only is the Mountain Goats a brand new band I've never heard of, is a brand new album, but the album itself is polarizing to me. Like, it's almost meant to be off-putting.
I think so. I think it was a very like targeted choice on his behalf. I mean, it's obviously got to be a targeted choice to like specifically be like, you know what, this isn't even my first album, but I'm going to record this one with just a fucking boombox and my guitar. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's going to sound like shit, and I know it's going to sound like shit, and that's going to be part of the artistry I'm trying to create. And it's
you can straight up hear like the tape whine, like
the
the wheel moving in some of the songs. It's crazy.
That's what Dewey's like, I'm just sick of this fucking tape.
The droning. I'm like, this droning in the background. I'm like, this shit is killing me.
It's just, What's interesting is when they, on the podcast, he mentions like, when they went to go release this digital, because they had the tapes he recorded and they pressed CDs out of them. Mm-hmm. But when they went to go make it digital, they needed the original tapes again. But the tapes were old, but they were like over a decade old or something. So they were like, when they play it, there's just chunks of music missing because the tapes were kind of dying. And they were kind of talking about like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of like goodbye art or something like that. Like art, like someone will make like a mural out of matches and then burn it. So the art only exists for like that moment and then it's gone. And it was a thing that he was discussing, that he thought it was beautiful but also depressing. And then he remembered that the tapes he gave the people weren't even original. They were copies from these two big reels he had in the house. So then he found those and then they were able to make the digital version. But he was like, damn, my music is going to be lost. Like, it's only a CD and it's going to be gone forever. Like, and I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, the dude is clever as hell. He is probably my favorite musician to hear like talk about like the art and the artistry and the thought process and the writing of music. He is just incredibly bright. Shout out to I Only Listen to the Mountain Goats podcast, and also shout out to Welcome to Night Vale, because the guy that worked on I Only Listen to the Mountain Goats is the guy behind Welcome to Night Vale, which is one of the best like story format audio podcasts out there.
Very nice.
Yeah. As mentioned earlier, this album was my favorite out of the ball. 5 out of 5 for me. And Kid Cudi, Man in the Moon, that's another 5 out of 5 for me as well. But kind of touching base to everybody's albums that were offered here today. Well, besides Kid Cudi, you know, I would have never seeked these albums out if it wasn't for you guys. So one, I really appreciate you bringing them up, because now that adds to my library, and now I get to venture down the path of seeing what else there is to offer with this. So hopefully we get to do this again. So
yeah,
absolutely.
This was fun. I liked experiencing everyone's music. I think that I purposely chose a pick that was kind of hard to digest. It's definitely a pick that's very personal to me. But But I was interested to see what the feedback was going to be. I was interested about Tony and Doey in particular, like their takes on it.
You could probably already imagine what my take was after. You probably like, this Tony's gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? Which it was.
What the fuck is this mountain dick?
I listened to the first song, and I said, "What is this?" Like literally in that voice. What is that?
Bro, it was rough. Like for anybody who watched the part or listened to it right now, you're gonna say the same thing. But give something a second try. You just never know.
Absolutely.
I think that we'll probably put out a list of the albums that we put before we put the episode out, just in case anyone wants to, pre-game and listen to the albums.
I think
so they know
that'd be really cool.
the hell we're talking about.
Yep.
Not for sure. And to Fox's point, I think we should absolutely do this again. And obviously, it won't be the most impactful album the next time because we already used up our most impactful. But there's other music that have touched us over time. And I kind of enjoy the
reminiscing.
It was honestly, it's a little too much homework, to be honest, listening to 5 albums and editing and going to work and doing all those things. But I think it's kind of beautiful because like it's sometimes it's a little hard to verbalize like your feelings and your life and all that type of stuff. And I feel like sharing music, sharing food, sharing experiences with one another is one of those ways where you could express yourself non-verbally. And I feel like it was a cool experience to kind of listen to what other people enjoyed, and through that listening is like I'm learning something about these people that I allegedly know, but I'm learning new things about them.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, hit that fucking subscribe button. Follow, like us, share us with your friends, your family. I don't care who it is, your cat, your dog, the birds. I don't care. Share us, like us. We also got my boy Retro Fox here. Follow him at Retro Fox Live on Twitter. Huge shout out for him. I appreciate him coming on the show.
Keep an eye on his Twitter. He's got some big things I think that he's gonna be coming out with here eventually.
Yep.
Thank you.
Changing. He's changing. He's changing a lot.
Absolutely. But we are gonna I will say this, we are gonna put an album out on Twitter here. It's June? So August 1st.
Ooh. Do we get exclusive first dish on the review?
I was going to say the One Up Podcast is more than willing to do that first review for you.
All right, yeah. I'll send it over to you guys. It's halfway done right now, so we're good.
Nice. All right. CEO talk. Your boys just got to wait. Let the CEOs here do the work and all that, all right? Look at Pucho's face. Pucho hates all
it's
CEO
the irony
talk.
of the stupidity of the comment. We got to everybody sit and wait. The guy who does all the social media, the guy who does all the editing, the guy who's doing our write-ups, editing all. Everybody sit and wait while the CEO does the real work. What? It's the irony of that statement is why I made that face. I'm like,
Yo,
you want to do CEO talks? I don't care. Do it. Your dick seems to grow 5 inches every time. So I'm cool with that. I want your dick to be nice and long and girthy, and I want you to be happy with it. But it's like when you pair it with stupid comments, I gotta make a face.
That's why I do it. That shit's hilarious to me, man. But
my cousin's husband hits me up the other day and was like, "Yo, so who actually owns the podcast?"
Me, I do. That's who
So
owns
you
it.
being the CEO is not believable to people, Tony.
That's fine. They don't gotta believe
make it more realistic.
I sign it, I write it, and I cash it. I've just paid for Pucho's vacation. What do you guys want from me?
Some would say I went to a third world country on Tony's dime.
Nah, but it's all jokes. It's all fun. But yeah, if you guys, like I said, don't forget, subscribe, shout us out, comment if you guys liked it. If you like banjo music and you think I'm bugging out for my review on it, let me know. I'm fine with it. I'm here for that. But as always, people. Oh, go ahead, Mateo.
Tony, next time you come to Austin, we're taking a long highway drive with the Mountain Goats playing. You're going to be like, oh, fuck. Now I get it.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it.
I love this mountain cock.
This mountain cock. I wanna go. Where the? I'm gonna fucking go. Where's the go?
We're gonna drive out to another we're gonna drive out on a long highway to another VFW to drink at.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
Oh shit. Nah, I'm good off that. He's trying to get me killed. But nah, as
My
always,
first
people.
good bar experience was at a VFW. I'd say a friend of a friend. She was a bartender at the VFW, and she took us there after hours when all the racists were gone, and we just drank a lot of free booze. It was really fun.
And a friend of a friend had sex with a friend behind the bar.
That's
we rolled
true.
up. We rolled up on them, and it was, we were looking at them.
I need that sound effects again, though.
I saw my friend's penis that night. I wasn't happy about that.
That's a big night.
Yeah, it was cool.
As always, people, go one up yourself. Behind the bar, it don't matter.
Or the bartender.
Or the bartender. Peace.
Peace.
Peace out.
Later, guys.